thought when I was a youngster, like most kids, it was either being an astronaut, a fireman, and when I first went off to college, prior to joining the military, education was something I wasn't even considering. And so I found that I had basically a niche for it and was good at it, and had been awarded for putting classes together and training together.
I grew up in Mount Morris, which is kind of a country town. You know, we had 2 acres of land, the houses were far apart. I went to a predominantly white school. Out of 250 graduating in my class, there was only 5 black. So it was a little different from where I teach. So when I first got my first experience in teaching in the schools where I teach, it was different.
I think it started probably when I was in high school. I decided I wanted to be a teacher. I had a really good math teacher at the time, and I kind of wanted just to make a difference and give that same experience to somebody else, and so I went into teaching.
Starts with had a great father at home, and in addition to just having a father at home, there were a number of men in the community, in the neighborhood, that was always a great role model, something that was a guiding force. Just let me know there's a better way to live your life. You can live your life and still be successful, still have a family without any of the riffraff associated with any of the other things the kids kind of pick up in the streets.
So I wanted to be a lawyer at first. And so I went to school for political science my first 2 years. And then I became pregnant with my oldest son. I was 19, and so I dropped out of school for a little while. And I didn't think that I would be able to go back to school all those years to become a lawyer. And if you put together all of my degrees, my bachelor's, my master's, and my ed specialist, I could have been a lawyer. Go figure.
I started out my career here at Westwood at Hamady Elementary as a first grade teacher. I then moved over here to McMonagle when we opened in 2009. I worked as a 5th grade teacher here for a few years, and I moved to the high school where I was literacy coach as well as middle school principal for a year. And then I came back to where I started, and this is my 3rd year.
Being, recognized and stuff like that, and that's when I realized that I enjoyed this. And so that's why I looked at secondary education. I enjoy politics and history and geography, and it's like to take my skills, take my experiences, because there's some things you just can never learn from a textbook. You present yourself. And the way you present yourself, because you cannot demand that kids respect you. You have to command that people respect you. And that comes with time and establishing a relationship.
I've always been alternative, from day one. So I think that I chose alternative to begin with because I really felt like those are the kids that needed me. I know I could have probably went to a lot of other schools that you walk in and the kids want to learn every day and they haven't had any issues at home the night before, and that just seemed kind of boring to me. So
my first year, I taught the advanced math classes for middle school, so it was pretty easy. The kids were all doing their homework, they were attending, during lessons. So it was maybe my first 5 or 6 years, it was real easy.
Again, as a teacher, I really consider myself an artist. I'm creative. I like being able to make things that I know that's something that's me, that's something that's us, that's something that I was able to put my stamp on. But throughout the years, we learn a traditional way of teaching kids, and then you kind of alter things and you get your own ideas and you add those ideas into what's already in the classroom. But a lot of activity-based, hands-on kind of movement. Lots with music, lots with kids doing open-ended problem solving, where things aren't always in that traditional, I'm in my seat and the teacher's directing a lesson. Some of the things are more open-ended, where you can get kids full imagination onto the subject.
You learn as you go, and you realize you make mistakes, and you have to accept that you made a mistake. And you tell the kids you made a mistake. And they understand after a while that you're human. We're not perfect. You build relationships. And so the kid that you had who might have been in 8th grade, when they stopped by at the first day of school, and they come down and they shake your hand, give you a hug because they're excited to see you and be back at school, it means, okay, I had a connection there.
Childhood growing up, we grew up in Flint. We've been around here our entire lives. Similar story. We were young parents, teenage parents, 20 and 18. So we understand some of the struggles that some of the adults are going through. And I think that's one big thing is we're real with the adults when they come in, and might not be able to relate to everything they've got going on, but we're more than willing to share what we've gone through.
I think one of the biggest things that influence how I teach is working at Whaley's Children's Center for 10 years. You're able to spot a problem right away because 10 years of working with kids with emotional problems, you had to see where the problem was going to start and get on it right away. So I think that influenced me in my classroom as far as classroom management.
Well, my wife is a very kind lady, but she's very astute. And she loved children, but she also loved discipline. And she, oftentimes we talk about different little things that she needs to talk about, and we sit down and go over them and look over some things. Then she said, you know, I'm gonna try to say the thing. And she ought to talk about how she's gonna make her classroom a better classroom.
He is very committed and very passionate about teaching, about changing people's lives, about making things better for other people and helping them to see what they have inside themselves that they might not see. He is a quiet encourager, but yet he is very much, this is how you do it, you're gonna get it done, that's it. Freaking rule follower like no other.
Teaching is teaching. Teaching is a tool to educate the mind, to take a person from one step and to move him ahead to another step, and prayerfully and hopefully to allow him to get into this world and become a pillar of the society.
He's been so excited about teaching since he's been here. It's like, this is what teaching's supposed to be. I have kids that want to learn. Granted, they are teenagers. Okay, we take that into account, but the support from the staff, the support from the administration, the support from the parents just makes a world of difference. And he is so excited to come to a place where kids want to learn. It's like being in a school again.
She's one of the greatest. I perceive her, I look at her as one of the greatest teachers there is in Flint because of the fact that she doesn't take mess. She's serious business about education. And being serious about education, that means that she has to weed out the mess from the productivity.
He is more of a storyteller teacher. He's not a lecturer. In that he tells stories to help people to understand what's going on. He tries to connect their life with what's happening and help them to understand in history or economics or in government why things are happening like they are. And he's really good at doing things to help them get it. He is an amazing man. And I am just so proud of the fact that he loves to teach. This is just his passion.
But just when they come up to you, they're like, you know, I would not have made it if it wasn't for you. I've had a lot of students say that math just never was my thing coming into high school. I hated it. I wasn't looking forward to taking the class, and then they had it with me, and they realized they didn't hate math after all, and it became one of their maybe their favorite subject even, and something that they just didn't think that they were going to enjoy at all, and then end up liking it.
The feeling of success. You know, they say there's various love languages. In this particular one in my love language being needed, and I feel that their need I was able to fulfill, and that idea of service, that I provided them with a service, and that was an education. And sometimes there's more than just a bunch of words out of a textbook. It's also a lot about life lessons.
Here's me, and my wife teaches also, so we constantly just share stories about kids. It's always a story about kids. I've had kids who've, just a classic story of them turning themselves around. And I always say that you really don't see the reward from this job day to day, but 5 years pass, 7 years pass, 12 years pass, and you see a kid who's not a kid anymore, and they come up to you and they tell you about something that's still on their brain. It may take you a while to remember this kid's name, you'll recognize their face, but as soon as you get the name and the last name and you go, oh yeah, you were my third grader back at that building, and they will give you a very, very good feeling just letting you know that some of those stories and some of that teaching that you try to put onto them away from the academic side, but just more life lessons and things that you really have to understand if you want to be successful in the world. And kids taking those kind of messages to heart.
It gets to be very emotional, and we try to get everybody to that point, getting them step along the way, seeing that growth. Some people come in here and I just want my GED. And then that's all they have plans. And then when they do graduate, and next thing you know, we're getting a Facebook message, or we're getting an email message like, oh, hey, I just registered down at Mott for the early childhood program, or I'm taking classes in healthcare.
It makes all the other stuff worthwhile. It makes all the discipline and all the have a seat, be quiet, sit down, follow the routine. It makes all of that worth it when I see that light bulb come on for somebody that came in my class at the beginning of the year saying, I hate math, I can't do it, I don't like it. And I see their confidence starts to increase when they realize I can do this, I can understand it.
Since 1998, I've been excited to be part of Westwood Heights Schools. I haven't lost my spark or my cheer. I believe in our district. I believe in it so much I brought my own daughter here. She started in kindergarten and now is a sophomore. So, yeah, I'm a big cheerleader for Westwood Heights.
It has been a wonder and a joy being here at Hamady High School. I will admit that I have fallen back in love with teaching again. Coming over here with Mr. Les Key and offering me a position here at the high school, and he says, I just want you to teach.
And this year, when I was here from the beginning of the year, it was a lot easier transition because I started out day one with the children. So I'm expecting next year I'll be more comfortable in knowing the rules and the routines here at Hamady. And so next year I think I would be even more effective because I'm more comfortable in my role here.
I found Westwood Heights to be pretty unique, location-wise, population makeup, and I've always thought that just from not being part of the Flint schools, not being a charter school, it's a very, very unique situation to be at Westwood Heights, and we could really, I think, take that farther for being a unique and special district.
I love it. I love where I'm at. I love Academy West. I think we're like a family. Our staff is like a family where we all know each other outside of school. We're really good friends actually. And when I came over, I was a little scared and a little intimidated, and not knowing anybody. And it was I came over the second year, so there was already a staff there the first year, and I was kind of coming in later. But then since we've added so many more staff members, and we really get along really well, and I think that all of the teachers really care about the kids.
So becoming a principal for the middle school, it has been a roller coaster ride. My first year was the honeymoon. It was amazing. It was great. It was awesome. And year two, it sets in and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is a lot. And so year two was a lot, honeymoon is over and you're like, oh, we need to do this, 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 this. And now I'm in year three and I want our test scores to be amazing. I want us to have a lot of team building activities. I really want us to unite and just be an amazing middle school. Staff and students, I want everyone to feel welcome and happy. I want to support the teachers as much as I can. And so this year I've got a lot more goals set for myself you know, as a principal.
I just like making the connections with the kids. That's the biggest thing, is making connections with them and show them that you care. Sometimes they don't have anybody that cares about them, or very few people that care about them. And sometimes they think the teachers don't care about them. And when you show that you actually do care about the kids, and you do have an interest in their lives outside of school, that's usually, I think, when the magic kind of happens.
I want to say that even though it is hard at times to teach, because I'm really focused on teaching, and there's a lot of things that you have to provide for kids before you can teach them. But at the end of the day, when I get those moments where I'm teaching, they're engaged, they're learning, I mean, they're priceless.
A shout out to McMonagle Elementary staff. Let's have a great year. 2019-20, we're going to get it done.
I want great things for this year. I really want us to be kind to each other. I really want us to be kind to the students. Kindness goes a long way, you know. Be really mindful in your teaching and your thinking, the things you say, and let's really work hard. Take time to plan and execute it. Let's all set goals for ourselves, for our students, and let's just make an effort every day we walk through those doors to be the best we can be.